while back I made a video, I think it was called CorpTube, where I was talking about how YouTube wanted to take things in a very different direction. They were saying how they wanted to be more part of the corporate community. Clearly, they wanted to put pride above looking after the home user. At the time, it was pretty apparent as well because they had those playlists that would play automatically, as if we would just be sitting back like couch potatoes and watching whatever videos decided to play for us. And that's just not the kind of mentality that we have. We are not couch potatoes. People that go online are more independent. They're more free thinking, sharing information, and being involved in their own projects or whatever. We're not the same crowd. So some greedy businessmen are like that. Maybe the sky's red, maybe the trees are purple, because that would allow me to sell this and to sell that. But you can't do that because the sky isn't red and trees aren't purple. But that's the way that they are. They think that they can change YouTube from being user-friendly to being corporate-friendly. In other words, making it look and feel more as something that the corporate world could be proud of, as opposed to something that is really user-friendly. Pale gray is a color that is often used for insane asylums and places like that because it pacifies people. That's really the point in that color. Gray is the most dull and lifeless color and shade. Even the shade of black is intense. Even white is intense. But gray, you can't get more passive than gray. It speaks of absolutely no emotion. I've also had a lot of difficulty leaving comments, and I suppose that's a glitch that they'll probably fix. At least I hope so. I don't know why they don't test for these things first, but anyway, right now this seems to be working fine, but sometimes, see, I'll hit reply in the middle of writing a reply, it'll just disappear. And this is kind of slow working for some reason. I don't know why I can play a video game with a lot of graphics on here, and yet it has a hard time handling the comments on YouTube. It could be a problem with Vista and the compatibility. But anyway, so yes, this is not user-friendly. This is not designed for the home user. This is very arrogant of them, and we've seen this in the past. They've removed playlists, and this must be very aggravating for people who spend a lot of time building a playlist. I imagine they should be pretty pissed, because there are people that that's how they build their channels, by adding tons of friends. So they can't be too happy right now. Also, I remember when I first came on YouTube in the early days, I would befriend people to keep in contact with them, basically. So, because I only had a few friends, so it was easy to keep contact. Obviously, after a while, I got a lot more friends, and so it basically did become a kind of contact list where I couldn't possibly keep track of them. But for those early days, I definitely wouldn't have been too happy to have those removed. So there must be people who are new, who had friends they're keeping track of, and now they lost all that list. But there are now these contacts. I don't know quite how that works. I don't really have the time, the energy, or the interest, but obviously I'm going to have to figure out this whole new design where everything is and how to work with it. And I'm sure all our profiles will eventually be forced on the new style. And as I complain about gray, of course, my profile page is gray, but that contrasts the color of the rest of the color on my page, as well as the rest of the site. But now as the whole site is gray, that makes my profile page look bland. And I change it only that I just don't like change, frankly. Too much is changing. There's too many complications. Don't have the time. And we don't need this. It's so nice just to come home and just go on YouTube and use it. With all these changes and glitches, it really makes things more complicated in a short amount of time some of us have to spend on here. But I find it interesting how there's always these large partners, YouTube partners, that'll come out and they'll defend the changes. And they'll attempt to attack people who have opinions or strong opinions against these changes. And they'll say, "Stop whining. I'm so tired of you guys whining." you know, as if they're being childish. And of course they'll do that. They're in bed with YouTube. It would be surprising if they came out and they said something against it. You know, that would be a surprise. Or they could just keep their mouths shut. But obviously, what do they think? You know, it's so obvious that that's what they're doing. If anything is petty, it must be complaining about other people complaining about something that doesn't even concern them. They're not complaining about their channel, they're complaining about YouTube. How can you be bothered by something that doesn't even have anything to do with you? Besides which, look at the irony of the hypocriticism, for that matter, of complaining about other people complaining. It's, anyway, that doesn't really bother me that much. I just find that amusing. But anyway, yeah, so I've been thinking, a friend of mine suggested the other day that wouldn't it be neat if everyone on YouTube were to put all of our money together and buy it? And I'm not sure that'd be possible. I don't think Google, because again, this is all about pride, I think, corporate pride. I really do think they're ashamed of us, the community on YouTube. Because, well, we're activists, we're into alternative news, and generally not pro-establishment, to say the least. And a lot of us kind of certainly anti-corruption and anti-corporate elite. And I think they're embarrassed, even ashamed of this. And so I'm not sure they'd even hate to see us go. But I mean, I've been thinking that either we're going to have to move to another video website at some point, or attempt to buy YouTube. I was wondering if anyone thinks that's a good idea. Do you think that's feasible? Do you think enough people could come together and put money that could actually happen? I know Google wouldn't want to do it, but if we were to make a big publicity thing of it, they might be embarrassed enough to accept it. But I mean, my God, how much money would we have to raise? $1 billion? It would be really nice if we could do that, but perhaps it might be more practical if we were to go to another video website. And why I say we is because the reason why I don't leave, the only reason why I don't leave, is the community on YouTube. There are other video websites that in some ways are much better than YouTube, much better. The problem is that they don't have the community. That's the only thing that has kept YouTube alive. If the community leaves, YouTube dies. I fully believe they do not appreciate this, understand this at all. I think if we started leaving, they would be like, I think they would be taking a sigh of relief. Oh, thank God they're leaving. Goodbye, you know. They've been trying to weed us out, I mean, they'd shut down channels. We all know, as those of us who have been here for a while, how they shut down controversial channels, because of swearing or something. They wouldn't give a reason. They just say, for whatever, violating, right, you know. Other channels could get away with the same things. So it was censorship. We all know it. They don't appreciate us. They don't appreciate the real community on YouTube that has kept it alive. And because they got their heads up their asses, excuse my terminology, but I mean, this is very clearly just an act of arrogance on their part. This is not user-friendly. This is not designed for the user. Taking away friends lists like that, putting all this gray on here, boxing things in even more than they had already done. It was fine before. The only change that they've made that I've noticed that I actually liked was that they improved the visual quality of the videos. But they took it to HD, which I think is way too far. It slows down the internet, I think. I mean, not that my computer can't handle it. I'm just saying that the internet in general, in some places, is being slowed down, especially for those people who have satellite internet in some more distant locations. So there are effects that some people are beginning to experience for the internet being slowed down, and I think this HD isn't helping. When I record videos now, I record them on the lowest resolution. And I find that is just fine. There's not a big difference between that and the highest, which is HD. So I really don't see the big difference. So anyway, I'm sorry I got off a little bit. The community is what keeps me here. That's what keeps all of us here. But if some of us started to leave and go to another video site and maybe welcoming other people over, maybe we might all go over to another video site. I'm sure YouTube wouldn't really miss us, and we might all be a lot happier. Then again, is it daydreaming, or is there a possibility that somehow we might be able to buy YouTube from Google? And just imagine that. YouTube actually belonging to the people. Just a thought. I don't know. I'm just looking over some of the design things here. I've experienced a lot of glitches lately. Right now it seems to be working fine, but I just wanted to make these few points that basically the only thing keeping YouTube alive is the community. A community that they do not appreciate or listen to, and have often done anything they could to censor, to silence, to hide, and to pacify.